Hey YouTube, I'm the Magician. I'd like to talk to you today about IP addresses. What are they in general? What is the difference between the public internet and a local area network? And how network address translation helps us with that. What is a dynamic name system server, or DNS? How does that work? What are some common network ranges you might find? And finally, what are CIDR values and subnets? Let's make some magic happen. Well, let's just start with the obvious. What is an IP address? It stands for Internet Protocol Address, meaning it's a numbering system that allows for communication over a wide area network such as the internet. Basically, they're like phone numbers for various locations on the worldwide network we all communicate with. You all might be familiar with the IP address 192.168.1.1 or something similar to it. This is a common network address for home routers to be configured with out of the box. That number represents just a binary string, just ones and zeros. I'll cover binary math in another video, but if anyone is curious about the binary representation of 192.168.1.1, I'm going to put it here somewhere. Everything is in octets, or sets of 8. Not because of any random choice, but because of how binary math works. Again, I'll get to that in another video. It's neat stuff. That's all IP addresses are, ones and zeros. So if IP addresses are just like phone numbers, and many of our home networks are 192.168.1.1, how can we call grandma and grandpa to video chat? Let me explain the super cool concept of network address translation, or NAT. Imagine for a minute you are calling a small office, maybe with 25 or so smaller individual offices inside. You call the main phone number and get to the front desk. Some very nice person, or more than likely a robot, will give you a list of extensions for you to connect with a specific individual to have a conversation. Think of network address translation as the robot that directs you to that individual. Each of our homes and businesses have an internet-facing IP address that allows for communication to other homes and businesses. In the early days of the internet, this was easy. Most families and businesses had a computer or 2 computers, but now most folks have all kinds of internet-connected devices, from phones to computers, or even toasters to refrigerators. There aren't enough IP addresses to go around if each individual item was directly connected to the internet. NAT, just like that robot receptionist on the phone line, takes that signal that goes to the public IP address that goes out to the internet and redirects that information to the specific computer that called for that information. Okay. So that breaks down network address translation. I hope that makes sense. What I'd like to continue with is another phone analogy. When you go to call a friend or family member, do you recall their phone number from memory, or do you bring up your handy-dandy contacts list and tap their name? Even back before cell phones, people would keep notebooks or Rolodexes with information so they didn't have to remember it. Well, there's a similar tool with websites to allow an average user to navigate to their favorite website. DNS, or Dynamic Name System, is exactly what it sounds like. It's a tool that allows for a name to dynamically route a web browser to an IP address. Now, I haven't talked about this yet, but a website is just an application running on a server somewhere on the internet. So instead of navigating to 142.250.217.174 on a particular port that allows you to access the website, you can just type google.com and bam, DNS routes you to 142.250.217.174. DNS is really a tool that makes life easier for humans. Humans are pretty great with names, but not so much with binary strings 32 characters long. There are some patterns in IP addressing, and we have already talked about one of them. 192.something.something.something is a Class C network address range. This is common in homes and small businesses. There's also 172.something.something.something, which is a Class B, and in many cases, this is seen in mid-size offices, like maybe across a chain of businesses over VPN or virtual private network. That will be another video, actually. Very cool stuff. I'm going to show everybody how to set up your own. Finally, a 10.something.something.something is a Class A network, which is seen more rarely in my experiences. These aren't hard rules by any means, just common patterns that you're going to see. With these ranges, there are sub-networks or subnets. For example, let's use a Class B network, 172.100.something.something. Maybe this business is a bank. 3 departments that might be at that local branch are operations, customer service, and technical support. Now that we have this mental picture, let's say they are all network connected on 172.100.0.0/16. That notation is called a CIDR value, and it's just a really convenient way to explain very easily that those last 2 octets are reserved for use for various purposes. It means that the connected network includes everything starting with 172.100. So the binary notation I'll have below here, all the zeros are available for you to play with as a system administrator managing the network. So just as an example, 172.100.50.0/24 would be operations, meaning that last octet, 0, would allow you to connect 200 or so devices. And I'll get into a more advanced video later, but this is just basics on IP addressing. And let's say that 192.100.100.0/24 would be customer service, 172.100.150.0/24 would be technical support. Those are just random examples. I wanted to give you an idea of what CIDR values could be. What that does is segment a network for maintenance, security, general organization. It makes it easier for troubleshooting, planning, growing. There is more to IP addresses than this video, but I wanted to briefly touch on core concepts so you hopefully understand them better. Keep going. This is endlessly cool stuff. More videos to come, so leave me comments. This is my first video, so I'm learning how to do this. Like and subscribe if you want me to make more content like this. I'm the Magician. Until next time.